So should I buy or build in Asheville? Well, as a realtor, I've been asked that question about 1,000 times. But if you're thinking about that question, then I made this video just for you, and watching it may help you find the answer. So if you've been looking at homes in Asheville and thought, I don't know, maybe we should just build instead, then this video is about the word just. Now, it's a small word, but it can cause a lot of trouble. Buying can be the right move, and building can be the right move. The mistake is assuming building is automatically going to be cheaper, easier, cleaner, or any of that, because the homes you're seeing online are just not right yet. Now, I'm Justin Godby with Revel Real Estate at Keller Williams Professionals in Asheville, North Carolina, and we're going to make this really specific. We're going to use Fairview as an example of a city, because Fairview has a lot of what Asheville area buyers are usually looking for, like, trees, privacy, views, a little more space, and it's still pretty close to Asheville. Now, based on this current MLS snapshot of active and under contract residential listings in Fairview, the median list price is $675,000. The median home size is about 2,346 square feet. The median price per square foot is about $305. So let's round that out. We'll say a roughly 2,400 square foot existing home in Fairview, using that median price per square foot, lands you around $730,000. Now, that's not cheap, but it's a nice area. But now let's compare that to building. Local builders are charging a wide range right now. And for a custom home around Asheville, it's not unusual to hear that number starting at about $300 for basic per square foot, moving into the 4s, the 5s, the 7s, or even more, depending on the builder, the site, the design, and the finish level. So let's keep the math simple. For a 2,400 square foot build at $300 per square foot, which is like bare minimum, you're around $720,000. It's not going to be very custom. At $400 per square foot, you're around $960,000. At $500 per square foot, you're around $1.2 million. And at $750 per square foot, you're around $1.8 million. Now, this is custom and it's really nice finishes. Depending on what's included in the builder's number, that may not include land or site work or driveways or utilities or septic or well or everything needed to actually make this a building that you can live in. That's part that people often miss. I'm working with folks right now who are looking at land for a modular home in a really nice neighborhood near Hendersonville. And before land and site work, they're already in the high 500s. After land, site work, utilities, and everything else, the total project is likely going to be past $800,000, and the timeline is around 8 months. At that point, the question changes. It's not just, can we build? It's, well, what are we getting by building that we could not get by buying? Now, it's a great home. It's going to be a great home. It's in a great area. It's a great modular home. But because around that price point, they may be able to find something already built that's nicer, easier, faster, and less risky, it may not be the right choice in the long run. Now, that does not mean they're wrong to want to build. It just means they need to be clear about why they're building. And I think they are. This is the pattern I see a lot, though. The people who are happiest building usually are not doing it because they think it's the discount path. They're doing it because they want control. They want the layout, the land, the orientation, the finishes, the main level living, the workshop, the garden, the guest space, the privacy, or maybe it's just a specific way of life that is all encompassed in the way their house works. That can really be worth it for some people, but that's different from saying it's going to be cheaper. Buying existing usually gives you more certainty. You can walk through the house, you can inspect it, you can understand the neighborhood. You can usually close and move on in a much shorter timeline. And the boring stuff may already be solved. The driveway already exists, the water exists, the power exists, the house already sits on the land. It's not glamorous, but it's also not nothing. Here's the kicker, y'all. A lot of the value is hidden in the house already being built, already being there. Because somebody went ahead and bought the expensive fights to get it built and took care of all the headaches and all the permits and everything else. Building gives you more control though, but control has costs. It costs money. It costs time. It costs decisions. It costs patience. I mean, talk about decision fatigue. Talk to somebody who's been building for the last 2 years. And usually it comes with more uncertainty than people expect at the beginning. Building a house is a little like running a marathon. And I do not mean that in an inspirational LinkedIn way. I mean, it's long, it's expensive, it's uncomfortable, it's full of decisions, and somewhere deep in the process, you may start to question what choices got you there in the first place. That doesn't mean marathons are bad. For the people who finish them, they're incredibly rewarding. Some people really love them, and some people train for them. Some people are just built for that process. But if what you actually wanted was a pleasant walk, then you should probably know that before you sign up. Buying existing is usually the shorter route. Modular can maybe be a middle path, and a full custom build is the marathon. And around Asheville, the land can add a lot of obstacles and hills. So quick note on modular homes, because they belong in this conversation. Off-frame modular can be a legitimate middle path. That's kind of like building a custom home, and there are custom things that you can do in a modular. The home is built in sections off-site and then placed on a permanent foundation. That can sometimes create more predictability than a fully custom site-built home. But modular is not a cheat code. You still need access, foundations, septic or sewer, water, utilities, grading, drainage permits, delivery, and you gotta finish, you gotta get your inspections, everything. And in the mountains, delivery matters, because if you have a jackknife turn, you might not get a modular home up there, okay? Those modulars have to physically reach the site. Modular can definitely shorten part of the build, and it doesn't shorten the mountain. And, that's not even to say manufactured, double wide, single wides, any of that stuff, right? So how do you decide? You gotta start with the actual problem. If you need a clearer timeline, simpler financing, fewer unknowns, or you're already stretching your budget, buying existing probably deserves a serious look, even if the house has compromises. There's no such thing as a perfect house, but there is the right house right now. If you need something very specific and you have the budget, the patience, and the team to do it well, and that team's important, building may be worth exploring. But if the main reason is homes are so expensive and building's gotta be cheaper, well, I would slow way down. That is usually not the safest assumption around Asheville especially. The goal is not to talk yourself into buying, and it's not to talk yourself out of building. The goal is to understand which path is actually right, what it's giving you, and what it's asking from you. Buying may ask you to accept more compromise. Building may ask you to accept more time, more cost, and more uncertainty. Neither one is automatically right, and neither one is automatically wrong. They're just different trade-offs. And the clearer you are about what trade-offs are right for you, the better the decision usually gets. Because the worst version of building is building for the wrong reasons. And when you realize that what you were paying for is control when what you really wanted was a cheaper home, it doesn't work. And the worst version of buying is just giving in, settling. If you just buy a house because you're tired and you're discouraged and you want the search to be over. Both paths can work, and they can work well, but both paths can also be wrong. The job is to figure out which one actually fits. So if you're deciding between buying an existing home in Asheville or building near Asheville, the better question is not just should we buy or build, it's what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to save money? Or do we want more control over the process? Those are very different decisions, and they usually lead to very different answers. If you're thinking about buying or building here in Asheville, give me a shout. I'm always happy to talk through this with everybody that has those questions.